WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something from Pulteney. The name of the distillery is Pulteney. The name of the brand is Old Pulteney. This is from the Signatory Vintage Cask Strength Collection. And this is a 12-year-old whiskey. To read here, it says age 12 years, sherry cask finish, distilled on the 27th of May 2008, bottled on the 19th of February 2021. And initial maturation were in refill bourbon barrels. I'm going to emphasize it again, more than one. And then it was finished in a fresh sherry butt for 31 months. So this is cask number 4. This is bottle number 160 from 695, and it's 56.2%. If you want to go to Whiskybase, it is Whiskybase number 178569. And over here in Germany, or I must say over here in Europe, it runs around 119 euros. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to pull out this. So let's cover up the blueness of my screen a little bit. All right, so this is 31 months in a fresh sherry butt by Signatory Vintage. This is cask number 4. Now this is cask number 5. This is 23 months in a first fill sherry butt. And this is cask number 3. And this is only 6 months in a first fresh sherry butt. Now, I would have thought that the longer you keep a whiskey in a sherry butt, the darker it gets. Look, it's a little bit lighter, and it's very much lighter. Something's wrong with my physics. I know for a fact that normally casks get darker the longer you keep them in a cask. But what happened? Now, as I mentioned, this is cask number 3, 4, and 5. And what they did in all these is they took casks that before they filled them up into a new fresh cask. So here in the darkest we had refill butts. Here in the second darkest, we had here refill hogshead, and in the lightest, we had refill bourbon barrels. So what they did basically here is they took 3 bourbon barrels that were about 8, probably maybe 9 years old, between 9 and 10 years old, I'm sorry. And they were about 9 to 10 years old, and you refilled them up into one single fresh sherry butt. Now, my conspiracy theory is the following. That Signatory Vintage did a little experiment. And what they did is they took either, and I'm not sure which one they did, either 3 types of sherry to actually season these fresh sherry butts. So this was a very light type of sherry, this was a somewhat medium type of sherry, and this was a very dark sherry. Or, this is more my theory, is here they had a sherry butt with absolutely 0 sherry left in it. Here we have a sherry butt left in it, maybe a couple liters. And here we had a sherry butt with a couple more liters left in it. I think that's actually the more probable answer. Now, I'm not sure if any of that's right. Mr. Signatory Vintage, if I'm wrong, please tell me. Please inform me. I would just be curious to know why the 31-year-old looks like this and the 23-month-old looks like this. All right, so this might be a little different. It's 20 years old, but these are both basically the same age. This was left longer and has a very, very lighter color. This was left less in the wood, and this has a very much darker color. Maybe it was also the char or the toasting of those sherry butts. Who knows? I have my nice little book here. I have not done very many Pulteney bottlings in my life, and so this is also new land for me. And I'm going to read something that I did not know. Pulteney is located in Vic. I did know that. All the way up on the coast on the right-hand side, all the way at the top. And not only was the distillery closed between 1930 and 1951, but the entire town was dry. I did not know that. It says here, a law gave communities in Scotland the right to implement prohibition, similar to the USA, and provided a majority of the people voted for it. And so the ban came into place in 1922, and it took 25 years until pubs were allowed to serve alcohol again in the city of Vic. Wow, I had no idea. I did know that some areas of Scotland had a form of prohibition, but I was not aware that where Pulteney was, it was not. Wow, I learned something new. All right, now to be very honest, of these three, this is my favorite. Why is this my favorite? First of all, the smell. Oh, got my whiskey here. I'm not going to have this, but I am going to have this. This is just for illustration purposes. The Benriach, 20 years old. This is here the Old Pulteney. I get orange zest. I get tobacco. I get milk chocolate. I get caramel. This is a beautiful, beautiful example of what a sherry whiskey can be. Personal opinion. This hits my wheelhouse. This was the burnt cinnamon roll with a little bit of licorice on it. And this was a very deep, dark, almost blackberry, almost like a blueberry, almost like a deep, dark black plum. Not bad at all. Too much alcohol, almost too much alcohol, tiny little bit too much alcohol. So for me personally, the 56.2% just doesn't do it. It burns a little bit. I bring it down to about 50, 52%, and it turns into, for me, something magical. I like cloves. Very, very, very good. A little bit of a saltiness in there. A little bit of maritime. Pulteney used to call it the mozzarella of Scotch because of that dry, briny type of moment. Now they call themselves the Maritime Malt. And that maritime means, of course, Vic is a harbor. They used to go out there and catch most of the herrings for all of Scotland, or maybe in the UK. And there was a big fleet. And so when the sailors came back, they wanted to have something to drink, and they had their own distillery with their own whiskey, and it was fabulous for everyone, I guess. And this is some really good stuff, and you get a little bit of that saltiness in there. We do have warm tubs, even though it's not copper, it's a stainless steel warm tub. And if you ever have an old Pulteney bottle, you'll see that there's a bulb at the top of the bottleneck because there's a big bulb on all of those stills that are in there. And I was actually told that they had to cut off the top of the stills because they didn't fit in the building as well, and that's why the line arm is a little bit different than most other places, but who knows. Cheers. Mm. Mm. This is my type of whiskey. Wow. Question of the day: what is your favorite Old Pulteney or Pulteney expression? Either independent bottler or original bottling. I have to admit, this is way up there in my book. I do know that the old 17s and the 19-year-olds were much better than the 18s and the 21s. At least my personal opinion, and many of my friends as well. Um, you have that orange, you have the tobacco, you have that milk chocolate, you have a clove, you have a tiny little bit of cinnamon in here. You have a little bit of that wood spice. You have a little bit of a saltiness from the maritime moment in here. It's all perfectly balanced. Very good. B minus. Yeah. Much better than these two, in my personal opinion. Value for money, a solid C. It's still 120 euros. It's one of those things, if you're going to go out, you're going to buy yourself one of these Signatory vintage cask strength collections. And if your palate is anywhere close to mine, this is going to be your bottle of whiskey. This is fabulous. Now, if you like the cinnamon, the big red moment with licorice, this is your moment. And you have a lot more money and you're willing to pay 239 euros for something. You want those deep, dark, black berry moment, that black plum, that black blackberry, blueberry moment. This is the thing to have, but I do not think this is at all worth the value for money. This isn't worth the value for money either. This we can argue about. I'm sure there's other independent bottlers out there that you can get for a couple, maybe 10, 20, 30 euros cheaper than this and have a very similar effect. But at the moment, I have not seen many Pulteney bottles out there. So one last thing that I forgot to mention, I always wanted to mention this in the future. I want to mention this more often, let's say that. Pulteney belongs to the Inverhouse distillers, that's Thai Beverages. So over here we had our Blaethel belongs to Diageo, and Benriach now belongs to Brown-Forman. So we have 3 of the big players in the whiskey world in Scotland here, represented by Signatory Vintage. Excellent job, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, my question of the day is, what is your favorite Pulteney or Old Pulteney bottling? Please write it down in the comments. That'd be great. This is Whiskey Jason over here in Germany, having a fun time tasting and reviewing here these bottles. Now, I did buy these bottles myself, but I have also, I'm doing a bottle share with all these bottles. They're all gone already, to be honest. So people buy 5cl or 10cl, and I send it to them in with a post over here with, and that's all legal. I have business license and all that for that. And so it's not that I actually buy these bottles and then drink that a little bit and they stay on my shelves forever. Starting now, they're all gone and they'll be sent out all over Germany. And I'm happy to share with people because whiskey is only whiskey when it's shared. Thank you, Roy Aquavita. If you don't know his channel, just Google him, Roy by Aquavita. He is my hero in whiskey, and I really do enjoy what he's doing. Thank you. Like, subscribe, tell others, and don't forget to share this video if you'd be so kind on social media. Whiskey Jason, bye-bye.